So Randy, here I am with this carbon fiber here. Okay, this is seems like a very stiff, very fine material here. How do we get this into the bowling ball? We've had balls in the past that had this carbon fiber in the core. Now with this ball here, we have it in the cover. How do we do that?
Well, basically, we were doing something that's similar when we did with the core itself. And you notice these particles that you held up in your hand, and we showed a demonstration a while back that basically showed how these fragment into these real fine structures. And you can see in this sample right there how evenly that's dispersed and just opened up that framework. So you've got millions of those carbon fiber strands just permeating through that resin mix. And what we do is basically we add that in like we did with the core into the shell material. And the reason why we did that is because carbon fiber material, you talked about it being kind of a stiff, rigid material, it helps basically to stiffen that material up and give it more structural integrity. And I'll equate it to pretty much kind of like concrete. You wouldn't build a high-rise building out of just concrete alone. You're going to reinforce that. Anytime you put pour concrete, you're going to wind up putting materials in it just like rebar. And you can actually put carbon fiber materials into it as well. But by reinforcing concrete, it gives it something to hold to and disperse that load into there. And by adding carbon fiber into the shell material, we're able to take this malleable material that reactive materials are made from and actually cause those to become stiffer and resist deformation. That without the material, you wouldn't even be able to have that same kind of characteristic property. So it actually creates a more long-lasting, durable, strong type product by adding that material to that shell.
Very interesting. When you put it in this resin, it almost looks like hairs that are going through the resin instead of this piece here. So my next question was about this we have up here. You have a magnified view of the carbon fiber material.
Right. This is an SEM, scanning electron microscope view of the shell of this bad intentions hybrid. And it's blown up 500 times. So what you're looking at in here is these individual carbon fiber strands that you see that's coursing through this resin media right here. You can actually see those running in and around through the shell material. They're all trapped and they're locked in there. And they're just randomly oriented, so no matter where the force is coming from, it's able to receive that and kind of disperse that load very effectively, very efficiently. Without it, this resin itself that these shells are made from have to take that load themselves. And the problem with that is that, like with any material, especially when you talk about loading things cyclically, so in other words, a ball is under compression, then it's not. It's under shear force, then it's not. That doing that over and over and over again eventually causes materials to fatigue and break down. What that means is you get propagation of microfractures and just creeping the material flowing. When you add these other materials to it, like carbon fiber, it stops a lot of those, the propagation from happening. It stops a lot of those degradation of the polymer itself, so that it's able to be more resilient than it was before. So and that's why we've done that.
As a bowler, say, I'm someone who doesn't quite understand, all the little intricacies of carbon fiber. I see the carbon fiber pieces sticking out of the material. As someone who is altering surfaces of bowling balls quite a bit, and I'm sanding it. If I take 1,000 Abralon pad and I rough this up, what does that do to those pieces that are sticking out?
Well, that's a good question. And the nice thing about this material, it's more abrasion resistant than the cover stock that the ball's made from. So basically what you wind up with is whatever you start with, when you start applying sanding to the ball surface and start working at the surface, what you do is work down the surface material, and then what happens is that these residual, the configuration of this carbon fiber running through it actually keeps just wearing down. So it's almost like this even wear as you go into it. So in other words, it's like, whereas some materials that could be added into it, like glass particles and things that have been done in the past to change the nature of bowling, whereas they would break those particles down, break them out of the surface, you're not going to do that with these materials because they are such long dimensional characteristics of this material going into the polymer that once you start surfacing it, you get the same, and you'll get brand new ones that'll come out as ones wear out, and they get smaller and are being cut away, then you'll have new ones that'll merge out, and then they'll just keep that same profile and character all the way through.
That's very cool.
Yeah. Bill, you asked a really good question when you talk about surface for the ball, because that's a very important part about the dynamics of a ball, from performance and the toughness. And the thing is that adding the carbon fiber material to it has created some interesting things that we're going to be talking about in future balls coming up.
I'm really looking forward to hearing all about that.